Hey, Michael.
Hey, Ricky, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing okay. I've been having a little tummy issues for the past several weeks. I know TMI. Just let's call it the big D, the big diarrhea, the big Montezuma revenge. It's been a bad deal. So I went to my doctor and, because I wonder why it's lasting so long. Usually it's a 24-hour, 48-hour, everything's good. So I went to the doctor and I said, hey, man, I'm having diarrhea all the time. I said, well, what is going on? And he looked at me and he checked me out. And he said, okay, I know why. I said, this is common. And I said, well, what is it? He said, diarrhea is hereditary. And I said, what? Diarrhea is hereditary. It runs in your genes.
I think we should start the show. It's the Speaking Nerdy Podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. Hi there.
Hello. Nice. I heard that one coming. You kind of...
Did you?
Yeah,
I was setting that up.
Yeah, you set that one up, and it was kind of like, oh, yeah, that's happening.
Yeah, it's happening. I mean, I couldn't get... I knew it was going to be like, spreading butt cheeks, and that's for a different...
Oh, that was a different joke from a different time.
Different time. Hey,
my goodness.
Hey, welcome to the Speaking Nerdy Podcast. If you're watching right now, please comment who you are and where you're at. And thank you for being with us tonight.
And feel free to comment throughout the show. We'll pop the comments up and read them as we are able.
And, if we say something that's not right, usually that's 9 out of 10 times. Feel free to comment nicely on the board. And we'll pop up your comments now and then, too, if it's something nice about us.
And if you're rude, then Florida man will boot you from the stream.
The Florida man, which I don't know what happened. I'm looking down. Yes, so anyway, the Florida man. And it's time for the Florida man. I think it is. And here's the Florida man.
What's up?
Okay, well, that was the Florida man, and we're so glad to have him with us. Now, here you go. Hey, Todd V, the Florida man. I don't know about you, but what does that look like to me?
It's like an attempt at Deadpool.
Yeah, it's.
But I'm not sure.
It almost reminds me of a rooster without its beak. And that feather thing, that fin thing on top of his head. That
kind
where
of amorphic.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
it's like Deadpool, but the eyes are entirely too big.
Or a ladybug on crack. That's what I'm thinking too. That's well. If you don't know that. Tonight we're this whole Speaking Nerdy. We've been talking about the Book of Boba Fett. We did episode 1, 2, 3, and tonight we'll be talking about episode 4. So for those who have not seen it yet, be warned. And also our guest. Also, we have a guest tonight. The man, the one and only, Mr. Daryl McCarty. There he is. He gets. Got to use the kids. Hey, welcome, my friend. Thank you for joining us at the last minute. I know I just sprung this onto you today, but being a Star Wars aficionado, I thought you would be following the series, and I would like to hear some of your comments on the show. So far for me, the show, I enjoy it, but I do have a lot of comments to make about it. But before we get there, let's talk about some happenings of the week. There's some stuff going on. Yeah, they had the trailer of Moon Knight, of all things, just came out. Did you get a chance to? Any of you got a chance to see that trailer?
I did.
I did. Absolutely loved it.
I just first impressions. I loved it. I watched another video afterwards, how it changed a little bit from the actual comic book, which wasn't for Mr. Todd V. I wouldn't be familiar with it. So I really great comic book series. So, but yeah, it looks really good. It's Isaac. I can't remember his last name.
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah. The same guy that played Duke Leto in the latest Dune version?
Yes. He's a great actor. Plays Poe in Star Wars. Anyways, great actor. So I look forward to that. I think it's March. Is March the date on that? Or is that confirmed or not?
That's what it said.
Okay.
I believe so. Let me double check.
Yeah, let's check that. Let's fact check that on our.
Well, I
IMDb.
do want to say about
go ahead.
Todd and his mask. Like it's an improvement. I'm
All I'm saying is that's the wrong contraceptive I've ever seen in my life. So that's
for the record, my agent said that this is going to be a Marvel show.
I mean, of course, if I wore that, I wouldn't have any children right now, so that would work very well.
Well, speaking of Moon Knight,
yes, go ahead. Good interruption.
And this is going to probably lead into some other things we're probably going to mention. You guys are aware that one of the actors from the Moon Knight series just passed away.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know.
Gaspard Ulliel.
Yeah.
Oh.
Gaspard Ulliel. He's playing. I can't remember the name of the character that's listed on IMDb.
It's not Frenchie, is it?
Well, he would be a bad guy.
It would be a bad guy.
Called Midnight Man. But then he has
David Little. Thank you. Yeah, David Little helped us out there. Midnight Man. Thank you for coming to the show.
Thanks for watching. So, it's a big question because the MCU has played fast and loose with this idea of who's a bad guy, who's a good guy. Lately, with some of their characters, who's actually significant, like the swordsman from the Hawkeye series.
Yeah,
he's not really a superhero, but he is named the same as the hero, villain, hero / villain, swordsman. He's the fiance guy. I can't remember what his name is. Anyway, so I don't know exactly if he's going to be a true Midnight Man in the show or not. But yeah, he passed away. A freak skiing accident.
Oh, okay. I read that on Instagram, and that's I didn't realize that was him.
He played Hannibal. Lecter,
okay, yes, that's the bio I saw on the article.
Was it 2002 Hannibal Rising?
That's a
Hannibal Rising movie. Yeah, he was the young Hannibal Lecter that came out of the occupation that had taken over his homeland and his home and stuff. And yeah, he was great. Like I loved him in it, and I would have loved to have seen him do more movies as Hannibal and stuff like that. But yeah, he was very talented. He was a great actor. Yeah. So yeah, I saw that and I was like, man.
Yeah, it's sad. That's only 37.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of famous deaths, that's not something we generally do on this show very much. But we mentioned Betty White last week. But
that's right.
Louis Anderson
and
Meatloaf both passed away either last night or today. I'm not sure exactly when they passed away, but it both announced today.
Yeah,
I think
both of them announced today.
Yeah, I think Anderson was today, and I think Meatloaf was yesterday. I don't know. It was very close. I mean, I was surprised. So
yeah, Louis Anderson was almost 70, and Meatloaf was 74.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, I knew Louis Anderson. I saw that he had been battling cancer for a while.
Oh, okay.
So he had some major issues and stuff going on for a while. while, and then I don't know about Meatloaf. I know he lived a hard life.
Well, I mean, and then last week Bob Saget, from Full House, and a good friend of McDonald, who passed away about before the new year. So, but anyway, let's get away from all the sadness. No,
sorry.
No, that's okay. David Little says it's rumored that Meatloaf had COVID. Who knows?
Yeah.
I saw that report as well.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I haven't seen anything that specifically said. It's entirely possible that's, I mean, he was 74.
Yeah.
You get COVID at 70. I mean, my
especially
dad,
at his health issues and he had in the past with heart attacks and his weight.
Yeah.
And
like my
stuff
dad
like that.
survived at 80, but man, it took a toll on him.
Took a toll on him.
I don't want to get too dark. So
I'll say also, and also an update on the Batman. Apparently, it's going to be 3 hours long. Of course, that also includes, but it also includes the credits. So, as far as I know, I mean,
so if like a Disney Plus show, the credits are it's a 45-minute show with 15 minutes of credits. So.
Exactly. So you consider that. So
because they have to run the credits in Portuguese and everything else that they list. I try to read all the different things that they list.
I know
on
you do. I know.
I completely lose
you
them.
You watch it every time in a different caption, so that's awesome. But speaking of the Batman, which I thought was interesting, Matt Reeves said that Batman is almost kind of a horror movie, and that was from IGN. But on top of that, I also read an article that they bumped it down to PG-13. It was very for a while I thought it was going to hit the R target. So did the studios, and because DC has been going more that direction, very dark, very out there. So
I wonder if they went back and did some edits to get the rating down, because I mean, that is one thing where traditionally R-rated movies are not billion-dollar blockbusters.
Yeah.
Right.
And you expect Batman's going to, or should, make 500 million to a billion. This movie should be in the vein of Spider-Man No Way Home, in that caliber of movie. But when you drop an R rating, all of a sudden, soccer moms aren't taking their
kids
tweens to go see it.
Right.
And it crashes the numbers. So
actually,
it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, depending on what actually happens in the film, it could be as easy as taking out an extra F-bomb and you get your rating back. But looking at the trailer, you talk about it being a horror film.
Yeah.
Looking at the trailer, this reminds me of dark films like Seven.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And 8mm and some of these super, super seedy, dark underbelly of humanity kind of films. But then it's a Batman and it's a superhero movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, how far can we go down this rabbit hole?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, with it being PG-13, I think we're not going to go as far as it feels like we were going to.
On just to add to that, kind of a fact on the side is that actually the first PG-13 movie came out in 1984, and it was Red Dawn.
Really?
Yeah,
Red Dawn.
Red Dawn. And I think that, and you think about it, before that you just had G, PG, and rated R. So it kind of gave the studios a way to fudge between R and and PG. So anyway,
Red Dawn, Charlie Sheen's best movie.
Okay.
Sorry, Charlie.
Well,
you're not winning.
While we're on movies, real quick, did you see that? I don't know who all is excited about Morbius, but Morbius has been pushed back again.
Yeah.
And now is not opening till April 1st. Not sure what's going on with this film.
Any rumors? Anybody's been hearing anything about that? No, nothing.
I haven't heard any rumors, but it concerns me. It's already a spring release, which usually means that the studio's not super hyped that it's going to be a blockbuster. Now, which Batman is kind of an outlier. I don't understand why Batman is opening in March and not opening in May or early June during blockbuster season.
Yeah.
So that seems odd to me as well. But that being said, I don't understand why they keep pushing this one back. This is like probably the third time this movie has had a shifting date.
Yeah.
And of all things, they put it on April 1st. I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
I really did. When I saw it was April 1st, I was like, oh, this is from a satire site. This is a joke. But no, it's legit. It's moved to April 1st.
It's interesting you say that. Could it possibly be as simple as a timeline issue with tying into other films that it may have been pushed back?
I don't think Morbius is going to fall into that. It's a Sony property, and I don't really think it's kind of like the first Venom. I don't think it really had anything it needed to tie into. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, if it has to do with the actual date.
Yeah.
Like if there's not an actual issue with the film, my guess is they moved it to a weekend where there is not going to be another really good competing film. And they just decided April 1st, nobody's opening a good film. We can move to then, and we'll own the box office.
And I can totally understand.
And then nobody
that.
shows up because they think it's a joke.
Yeah. Well, my guess is it's not going to be a huge box office bang anyway, because most people don't know who he is. They don't understand he's a Spider-Man anti-hero character.
Yeah.
They just
he's not mainstream at all. So yes, exactly.
And I don't think honestly Sony has done a really great job of marketing this film so far.
No, and I think just because only fans, and there's probably a really small percentage of fans, even if you're in the Marvel universe, I mean, it just doesn't radiate Marvel, even though it's a Marvel product.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited about it.
So
I'm hopeful that it's going to allow. I'm hopeful they got Marvel involved enough that we can see a little bit of Blade showing up in this.
Okay, then that would be pretty cool. Just to get on to the next, this is for anybody who's into the gaming media. Big deal. Microsoft bought Activision, which has to do with Blizzard as well. Okay, we're talking about Wild Blizzard. Look at that, $68.7 billion. Now, on top of that, when that was announced, Sony market value dropped $20 million after the announcement.
Wow.
Now Microsoft is saying it's not going to take away, Activision products from Sony, like the big one is Call of Duty, of course.
Right.
But I mean, a couple of years ago, Microsoft bought Bethesda. And I mean, there you go, a huge category there. So even though they may not take away some of the, make everything exclusive, they will have earlier content. And so if you're a gamer and it's like, well, I want this add-on and this content or this special edition, and Microsoft decides I'm going to put it on this product and we'll sell it to Sony later on. And that's what they've done. And they've done that with from other like Destiny and some of these other companies. The Sony will make arrangements with these gaming companies, that will be on cross platforms, but they'll pay them money to be able to release certain things, and they'll have like an 8-month lead or 6 months lead on another company. So that's interesting. I mean,
honestly, I think it's a great move for Blizzard.
Yeah,
I think this is gonna.
Exactly.
You and I talked about this a little bit off show, Michael, and with the Blizzard scandal that all dropped out this summer, this is kind of a way for Blizzard to kind of sweep that under the rug.
Yeah, exactly.
Fire a bunch of people and say, it's a restructuring. That scandal. All those people are gone because we're Microsoft now.
And imagine
and just ignore the fact that it ever happened.
And Imagine Koch actually he decided to step down. Imagine the main person around the scandal just decided, I'm going to step down. So
yeah, I think it's probably a huge move for Blizzard. It's probably the right move for them to be able to move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be interesting to see if something like World of Warcraft or Overwatch is going to show up on a platform now rather than only PC.
Well, exactly. Well, and also just one more on gaming, because if you follow the gaming industry, it's very hard to buy a PS5. Everything from price gouging, bots that are basically buying up these consoles, selling them for twice as much as they're worth on eBay. Shame on you, scalpers. And, and of course, too, all the, cryptocurrency minings, it's using all the, components. It's a mess right now because of the shortages. Well, PlayStation decided to help you get your console faster. They're going to start selling the PS4 again. Yes. I don't understand it. I don't know the reasoning behind it. I don't know if they just have a ton of these chips laying around, but I would think I would put my effort in making more of the PS5 to get the PS5 out there, unless they have a stockpile of these, these PS4s out there and they're refurbishing them. I have no idea. But anyway, I thought that was interesting, and that's the happenings of the week right there. So,
well, the crazy thing was it this week? Sorry, was it this week or last week? Microsoft announced that it's no longer making Xbox Ones. And Microsoft's done making Xbox Ones, and Sony's sitting there going back to making PS4s. So,
well, are they really going back, or is there like a huge warehouse full of them somewhere?
I don't know. I know
is
there's
this new old stock.
It could be. what I'm thinking what might be happening is that maybe it's easier to get those components, and I don't know. Honestly, have you tried? I don't know. This past holiday season, people who parents that could not get a PS5 and try to find a PS4, they cost just as much, if not more, for a used one because they're taking advantage of the situation. David Little says, I think one of the chip makers was going to create a Bitcoin mining chip. Yeah, and so anyway, I think it's a crazy idea, but I think at the same time, if they have those components, they can sell it. Think about it. If you can't get a PS5 and your PS4 breaks, what are you going to do? Yeah, nothing. And, you have all that digital content. You can't play it. You can't go buy it unless you want to buy a used one from, Game Jerk down the street. But sorry, I don't know if that's their name or not. But anyway, Game Go Away. I don't know. So they won't be our sponsors. But anyway,
there's that.
Yes. Well, we have no sponsors anyhow, so we don't have to worry about that. So anyway, let's go ahead and just do some stupid news before we get into the to our wonderful Boba Fett episode tonight. Let's.
It's the Weird and Stupid News with your host, Mr. Mike Shirley.
Guys, that usually, a work of art, you usually put your little signature, your little, your little touch to it, anytime you do a painting or a photo. Well, apparently a surgeon thought he would do the same thing. Dr. Brimhale, a British surgeon, basically who branded his initials on patients' liver. Exactly.
What?
Yeah.
Basically, a British surgeon puts his initials on each of his patients' livers. Yes, that's right.
Hey.
Exactly. The branding occurred in February and August a while back, and Branham received 2 convictions for the common assault back in December. This is the key. The records show that he used the argon beam, coagulator. I don't know what that is. If you're in the medical field, let us know. I don't know what that is. The device is commonly used in surgeries to place, and he used it to put his initials on the transplanted liver of a patient at the end of each surgery. Okay, so the branded,
the most bizarre thing I have
get
ever
this, the branded
heard.
the branded initials were discovered only when an organ transplant failed and another doctor was performing the surgery on the patient.
Oh, wow.
Well, so basically now he's doing some time in jail right now, as you can imagine. But
Imagine that.
yeah, exactly. The next is doctor claims it's possible to fart yourself blind. That's right.
Okay.
Doctor has
My wife
claimed,
would agree with that.
exactly. The doctor has claimed that it's possible under a rare and certain circumstances to fart yourself blind. Yes, I was skeptical too. A plastic surgeon turned part-time TikTok star Dr. Anthony Yon gave an unlikely response to an even more unlikely comment, claiming, "I once farted so hard I went blind for 3 minutes."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was
Goodness.
oh my goodness. So anyway, although it's very unlikely if the gas you pass is extremely pungent, it could contain large amount of hydrogen sulfide. The doctor said in the video, studies show that hydrogen sulfide is very effective in reducing blood pressure. If it reduces blood pressure to the central retinal artery, your silent but deadly tubes could theoretically make you blind. So be careful if you're making a lot of bubbles in your bathtub. It says it in the article. And I think I'm going to leave it as that. There's a bunch of other stuff, but when you have to end it with farting in the bubbles, then let's go ahead and end stupid news. We got so much.
This has been the Weird and Stupid News with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And now I guess the good stuff.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Bubbles in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So bizarre.
I would be blind already. But anyhow.
How bizarre.
So okay, let's start off here. And so, first impression of episode 4 before we get into all the goodies.
Best
Best episode so far.
Best.
Yeah,
I feel like we finally are getting into some interesting territory.
Yeah, exactly. My thing is that I really enjoy the show. I really love the actors. I have a few things to point out that you can, it's not terrible, but it does kind of. Well, anyway, we'll talk about it in a little bit here. But yes, David Little said they keep getting better, and I agree with you. I think critics are a little bit too harsh. Some of the stuff I've been reading, I don't even think most of these people are Star Wars fans are actually making these critical comments. But that's for another day, I guess. So anyway, we start off. Let me start off that, most of the show was flashbacks.
Yes.
I mean, most of it, and I love the flashbacks. I think the story about him and the Raiders is really the focus. And we talked about this last week. We knew eventually it's going to have to meet in the present, and that's kind of what the show did.
We're right on the cusp of catching up to present day, where basically we have. But I still go back to the idea of, I would honestly have been happy if this had just been the backstory, and we had never gotten to the current.
I think,
or if we would have gotten to the current, it would have been like the finale of of the Book of Boba Fett would be him walking up to her like he did, and then being like, okay, now we're tying into the Mandalorian. Here's how how all that happened. But yeah, I agree. I think it's getting better.
I agree, and I think I liked your ideal, Daryl, on how it would actually eventually get to the point where he would get to the throne in the Hutt Palace. And then from there, I would think it would just be all on the Mandalorian on that show, and no more Book of Boba Fett. But anyway, it is getting better, but I have a feeling that maybe the flashbacks are kind of at a stopping point with a few things, but we'll get into that. Now, first thing, and me and Ricky have talked about those last week, when I think of Boba Fett, I think of the Boba Fett from Empire Strikes Back. Very cold, very, matter of fact. It's all about business. It's all about the money. Now,
yeah, he's not worth anything to me if he's dead. Yeah,
now we talked about, and me and Ricky talked about it, and I kind of like to know, Daryl, your opinion on this, because for me, his transformation, it was almost like it was almost like he emerged from the Sarlacc pit and he was a changed man, just showing mercy and compassion to his captors and anybody he came up with. And my opinion, it just seems like there was no dynamic arc. You would think there would be some kind of subtle changes, from being the way he was to now kind of a more compassionate and kind Boba Fett. What are your thoughts on that, Daryl?
Yeah, like I thought that was weird too. Like how they definitely went from where you kind of had this guy who had obviously, very few lines, what they say, I think,
like 6 lines total.
Yeah, 6 lines total, 13 minutes screen time, something like that, to, where he was very cold, but very stoic. We ended up finding out more about his dad than we did him.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Stuff like that. So now that we're actually finally finally able to see him and learn more about him, I don't know if this was something that was always underneath the mask, and once he took the helmet off, like he was maybe a little softer person, something like that. But yeah, outside of that, like you said, there was really no change, like no on-screen change, at least, unless you want to talk about, being slowly digested by a sarlacc, for however long he was in the pit before he escaped.
And it wasn't that long, was it? I mean, actually, if you think about it, it didn't seem like it was very long, which I think is interesting because, he has a different physique than he did back in back in Return of the Jedi. Maybe he's swollen a bit. Like maybe he had like the Data syndrome, but that's for you over there, Todd. So long story. We won't get into that. But yeah,
I was wondering if maybe the way he identified with the Tuscans was that he respected their lifestyle.
Yeah,
and that was kind of the gate through which he moved into that tribe mentality.
I think you're right, and I think there was a point in the show where Fennec and him was having a conversation, and he even mentioned that in later on. We'll kind of touch on that, but so it starts off, and of course, he's on that riding fast Bacta, wondering why he can't get to his friends in time to help them out. I mean,
I will say it actually makes sense in this episode, because I thought, well, okay, are we going to jump ahead to him writing?
Dude, this is our show. We can do whatever we want to do.
Whatever.
So.
Okay, so in the distance, we see the flares go off.
Exactly.
And we know that's a Mandalorian,
Chapter 5.
Chapter 5 of The Mandalorian. It's a scene with Fennec. It's like it takes him so long to get there.
I know it.
Yeah. And it makes sense, because if he got there really fast, he would have gotten there at the same time the Mandalorian got there. Well, and they would have run into each other.
Yeah, but but the thing, when he left the Pikes to go back to the Raiders in the last episode, let's just say that was a slow train. By the time he got there, there was no way he was going to help them. So it was just funny to me. The Bantas. I mean, I know that was the common transportation of the Tuscan Raiders, but it was kind of funny to me that he was using that to get to one place to another in a hurry.
Well, okay, and some people like Screen Rant is suggesting that, or either suggesting or at least or someone at Star Wars headquarters has said that Boba Fett may have been with the Sand People for the Tuscans for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Really?
So although it feels like days to us, it was probably years that he was with them.
Well, he said that he was with them for years. Yeah, he said after living with them for years, because whenever he was with Fennec Shand talking about the Sand People, how all that, he did say how they had rescued him from the Sarlacc pit and he had lived with them as their captor for years, and gaining their trust and everything else. But and I thought that was cool that they kind of brought that up, because it seemed like, oh, I'm here for 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
Well, I mean Well,
told Fennec that he was ready to walk away from the lifestyle of being a bounty hunter.
Yeah, in the conversation they were having, and it's kind of touch on what we were talking about earlier, and if we're going to jump around, I think we should do it. If you've seen the show, you absolutely know what's going on. So, but one thing, and I think me and Todd was talking about this before the show started, the one thing that I liked it how Fennec, basically told Fett that being with the Raiders, Tuscans made him soft. And his comment was, well, I think it did the opposite. It proved that what was it? Without a tribe, you're nothing.
So the idea here that Fennec says he made them soft. That they made him soft, and he says no, it made me strong.
Yeah.
That is definitely something that has been playing out
exactly
ever since we saw Boba Fett and Fennec together.
Exactly.
Initially we see them together, and you think, okay, they're both bounty hunters, they're both killers, they're the same person.
Exactly.
But it is very obvious that Boba Fett has had a character growth, and Fennec has not gone through that character growth yet.
I think she's seeing that. I think as she gets to know Fett more, those things are coming out, and in ways we've seen where it's kind of rubbed off on her. I mean, the whole idea of when she was helping, basically, when basically he asked her to help get his ship back, and yes, it's Slave One. That's what I'm going to call it. Just send your hate mail someplace else. And so anyway, in that, he said, then your debt would be paid. Well, and after that, she hung around. And I think it's because she saw his character.
And he was true to his word.
Yes, he was.
He said, where would you like me to drop you? Your debt's paid.
Exactly. So I think in the process, she's seeing the man that he really is. Now, I think sometimes she thinks he's foolish because he's going outside of the tradition of trying to gain power, but she sees his moral code, and we all know he has a moral code, because if not, several of these characters would have been knocked off already. I mean, seriously. I mean, that's just the bottom line on that.
Oh yeah.
But really it starts off, him seeing those flares, and we all know from Mandalorian Chapter 5, that's when Fennec gets a gut shot and left for dead. And what's interesting, do you remember in Chapter 5 where there was a sudden point where she's laying there, and from a distance there was kind of this shadowy kind of boots? Do you remember that? There was a scene there on chapter 5, and it was just very faint. It was really quick, and now
you
you
heard
really
spurs.
Yeah, so so you finally realize that was Fett the whole time, which we had no clue. I mean, at that time we didn't even think that he was even out of the sarlacc yet. Okay, we thought he was digested, and we thought he was like a Tums. Okay, so. But he finds Fett, and this is where it's going to get fun in this conversation. Okay, what does he do? Where does he go to help Finnick? He goes to a tattoo parlor. No, I mean, he goes to a mod parlor. And all suddenly it turns into the cyberpunk video game crosses the Blade Runner movie. And I love this show. But then when the music starts going like this dubstep music, and you walk in, and it was like, okay, this is the Fifth Element now. This is not Star Wars. This is a different universe. It did kind of bring me out of that, even though I love the show. But still, that right there, like last week's the moped bike chasing scene.
Rascals.
Back to the Future type of colors on there. It took me out. Now, do I say it's bad? Do I see it's no? It's a great show. I like it. I'll keep watching it. But those little essence drew me out of that universe. Any follow up comments on that?
Yeah, I agree. Like it's having that color, having that kind of I don't know, speeder, if you want to call it that, whatever, on Tatooine, like that doesn't fit with that culture. Like the mods, like I think the mods are cool. Like,
I think so too.
I think the whole aspect behind the mods, wanting to mod your body, it being kind of this underground illegal thing, I think is pretty cool. And then you want to throw them on these little Vespa looking things and make them like they're 50s greasers, on Vespas, are, super shiny. And it's like, one, where'd you get this color paint on Tatooine? Two, where'd you get paint on Tatooine? Like, this doesn't happen. Like, this isn't Tatooine. Like, take it somewhere else.
Well, see, I don't have
maybe.
I don't have a problem with the whole, like the mods and stuff. I think it's cool, but I think the way they go about it has this cyberpunk. It's like it's a different movie. It's almost like if you went in there and it was more of a Star Wars type of grunge. Not, what I'm trying to get.
It's like Star Wars meets Grease, or Crybaby meets freaking like
Scissor Hands.
Else. Scissor Hands. Like it's weird. Like it just doesn't work. Like I'm expecting Johnny Depp to come out at any time. And,
exactly.
He's the leader.
Yeah.
What were we
going
to say,
should look more like pod racers.
Yes. Yeah. Like it's
banged up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Going back to that point last week, I'll reiterate what I said. I don't mind the way they looked as far as the shape of the speeders. I thought that was fine. I didn't mind the colors. My only complaint was everything was too clean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It just needed to be roughed up a little bit.
Exactly.
It just needed to be scuffed up a little bit, and it would have fit into the world.
It's Tatooine, yes, exactly.
Of Tatooine, exactly.
Yeah.
But
we're not talking about Croissant. We're talking about Tatooine.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, that being said, the mods thing, this is something that, talking to some other people, someone mentioned this to me, and it hadn't really occurred to me. It kind of had occurred to me, but it hadn't occurred to me this much until he said it. So this show and The Mandalorian have kind of attempted to reframe a lot of things that we expect, our expectations in Star Wars. Okay. So we expect the Sand People, the Tuscans, to be horrible scavengers that shoot you for no reason from a distance.
Yeah, and like these nomads that are just running around like Like when I think of the Tuscans, like I think of Mongolian raiders. You know, that they're the Mongolians of the desert running around, just
exactly.
So
just killing people just to kill people.
Yeah. So Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. There's a cyborg race in Star Wars. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're subverting our expectations. So now the Tuscans they're deep, philosophical, they're thoughtful, they're human, and also we've got Boba Fett, who is cold and calculating and is now soft and strong. And then we have people that are choosing to modify themselves. When in Star Wars, outside of what he was just talking about,
exactly.
In the movies, everyone who became a cyborg, it was always kind of a negative thing because it was leading you into, that idea of Darth Vader was more machine than man, and it was always a negative thing. So Luke loses his hand, and it reminds him of his father, Darth Vader. But now we've got, you choose to become a cyborg because it's the hip, cool thing to do, versus this is a road that once I start going down it, it's just going to be darker and darker. So it's trying to subvert all those ideas.
Going back to Fett and the Tuscan Raiders, as we were talking about it, I was thinking, so this is the Star Wars version of Dancing with Wolves. I mean,
yes.
They do portray, there's kind of this portray of the Tuscans as kind of happened to Native Americans here. This is their land, and commercialism and industrial comes in. So anyway, I just, that made me think of that movie, that really long movie.
Okay, so since you mentioned Dancing with Wolves, that has me thinking about, what about the Gladiator Wookiee?
Yeah,
that character was too good for them just walk away in the episode before that.
Well, and I think,
I'm so glad he's part of the show. He ripped that guy's arms off.
Well, and the thing is, the thing on that felt really, let's just say the writing on that was, I'm going to put this kind of nicely here, okay? That wasn't the time to ask the Wookiee, do you want to join us after he tears the arms off of a Transordorian? It should have been, the perfect was last week when he was going to, it would have been a great gesture. I am releasing you. I respect you. I'm not going to sell you back. And that's when it should have happened, instead of, the Gladiator just kind of goofily running away, that would have been the part. But no, we finally get it where he's in the bar. I'm trying to remember her name. She's trying to talk him down. Garza Vip. Garza Vip tries to talk him down and just praises his name. And you're so gracious and you're so awesome. And we no longer act like this anymore. Rip.
We're no longer barbarians.
We're no barbarians, and you've run a really high tab, and so why don't we just let it all be good, and I'll just clear your tab. Rips his arms, and throws the money, and he's gone. He says
that made me,
playing the game.
I read something that said it's not really all that big a deal, because apparently that particular species can grow a limb back.
That's funny. But my question is, when I watched that scene, it made me wonder, was there something in the past that upset, what
makes sense to me why he attacked them.
Yeah, I didn't understand.
Was it that species that owned him?
Well, see, I thought about that, Todd. That's a good question. I don't know.
Like maybe something from the Gladiator days.
I was thinking.
Or like he fought him all the time. Something like that. They would pit him against these creatures all the time, or it just could be the fact that he's sitting there trying to have a drink, and you have these guys being obnoxiously loud next to you, and just constantly like going, and you're just sitting there trying to brew over your drink, and you're a big giant Wookiee, and like somebody crosses you or mildly upsets you, you rip their arms off. That's just the way. That's how you deal with conflict.
Yeah, I saw that one time at Applebee's. So that actually happens.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. But no, like I love that scene. Like as she was talking him down, I was like, if they make this Wookiee put this guy down, like I'm done with the show. Like Wookiees don't do this. Like Wookiees rip arms off. That's our whole thing. Just rip his arm off. And so I'm sitting there watching, and then finally he rips the arm off. I was like, yes. Yes,
that's what I did at Applebee's too. I was the guy who got on my nerves. But
David's made a couple of comments here.
Let's go ahead.
He confirmed that the Trandoshans actually captured the Wookiee to fight the pits.
Okay.
Now,
the other thing was when Ricky was talking about, they can grow their arms back.
Yeah.
This was David's response.
Now, David is that fact from one of the Legends canon? Because I know they're bringing a lot of the Legends canon back into Star Wars, and I know that the Gladiator, he was in previous comics with Fett. Because I'm fascinated to know where that information is at, because I would like to, if it's a comic or it's a novel or something like that, that would be really cool to read.
I'm pretty sure he was only Black Grandstand. Right, Grandstand, is that what they pronounced it? Chrysanthemum. Okay,
Chrysanthemum. Chris Kattan. Yes.
Right. I know he was only in the comics. I don't believe he was in any of the books.
Okay, that's
his
what
character came from the comic books, and so with them, bringing him back into the Book of Boba Fett, and knowing that they had conflict and had work together and other issues and stuff before this, kind of is drawing those comics back into it, and I like it.
Gotcha.
Like they're bringing a lot of the legends back into the universe and opening things up. So.
Apparently some of the conflict, not necessarily with Black Chrysanthemum, but just the Wookiee and the Trandoshans.
Yeah.
Apparently there is some episode or two of the Clone Wars where they talk about that rivalry, because Chewbacca was involved in that episode.
Gotcha.
Were they slavers? Well, wait, here,
I think they were slavers for a while.
Oh, David has
it's
or about the hunt, yeah.
Trandoshans are all about the hunt. Okay, that seems right. I seem to remember something in the Clone Wars and Rebels. You're right. That makes sense. That's right. There was an episode about that, and I think it was the clones. There were some clones that they were after. I can't exactly remember the episode. We need to look that up. Not now, but yeah. That makes sense.
He had one other comment going further back about when you were talking about Dances with Wolves that I thought was funny.
Dances with Banthas. I saw that.
Yeah.
That was good, David.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
But I do have to say, with the Banthas, being that old school Star Wars fan, and growing up, binging on the original trilogies, seeing the animatronics and the puppeteering back into full effect was really cool. But they didn't use CGI. They used the animatronics. They used the puppeteering. And even though it was a little cheesy and you were like, okay, yeah, this is totally a big giant puppet, I still thought it was pretty cool that they kind of went back to that.
I was actually thinking that same thing when I was watching. There were a couple of scenes that I was like, okay, is that practical or is that CG? Yeah. And some of it definitely was obviously practical effects.
Yeah.
There were just a couple of scenes that was like, I can't tell if that one's practical or CG, but it looks so good. I feel like it's practical.
Yeah.
A big giant puppy.
Yeah.
Well,
it was kind of he has this affinity with animals now.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike had to step away. So there's a throwaway line. This was back with the Rancor last episode, and we didn't mention it, and I had forgotten about it until somebody mentioned it to me today. He makes the comment, I have ridden creatures 4 times its size.
Yeah.
And that is actually a vague reference to the Star Wars holiday special where Boba Fett shows up in the little cartoon segment riding what appears to be a giant dinosaur. I don't know if you guys have seen that. The Christmas special, the video, the kind of psychedelic cartoon spot where Boba Fett shows up. But he comes riding in on a giant like Stegosaurus or something. I don't remember what it is, but
Barney,
a dinosaur that with the one with the really, really long neck.
The Stegosaurus.
Yeah. So the idea that he rode something much
Brontosaurus,
whatever they're called.
Brontosaurus. There you go, Brontosaurus.
Yeah. Brontosaurus. That's what I was looking for. So this idea that he has some affinity with animals is kind of interesting. I also noticed he in this episode on one of his shoulders he has the same insignia that they gave the Mandalorian.
Yes.
Which confused me. You know what I'm talking about? What was the creature that it was his?
Oh, the Bronto, the rhino that he.
Yeah, and then
that's on his symbol.
Yeah,
because Boba Fett's was different, but Boba Fett's symbol was always the one that we saw with the Tuscan stuff, because the original bounty hunter symbol that you see everywhere, that was Boba Fett's original insignia, and that's why we saw it all the time. And then whenever they kind of showed in the Mandalorian that like everybody gets their own kind of insignia, their own brand to say, you have to earn this. And so like I think it was pretty cool. But no, I didn't notice that he had the same rhino thing on his.
If it wasn't the same symbol, it looked very, very similar.
I noticed it too. I'm pretty sure it was the same.
Because I was thinking that was only for. I was thinking that was the symbol for the Mandalorian, but.
I'd always. They got different sects.
Yeah.
Or houses, maybe.
Houses. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because I thought it was interesting where he actually went back to the sarlacc with Fennec to find his armor, and it didn't work.
This was strange.
I thought it was strange.
Yeah.
And they get pulled in, and of course they escape because she drops some type of, I guess, ion bomb.
No, that was one of those gravimetric bombs that he used when he was chasing the Millennium Falcon to the asteroid field.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Remember, they go out in a big blue disc.
Yeah.
They shear whatever they hit.
Yeah.
And you see it again in the Mandalorian too. He drops a few of them in the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Well, he makes reference because Fennec says, "Well, it's probably dissolved by now," and he says, "No, it's Beskar." And
so I thought that was interesting that he has no clue that it was stolen from him by Jawas.
Exactly.
I thought he knew that.
Well, I thought so too, because he had it on, he got knocked out, and then next thing you know,
he's so out of it that he didn't realize he still had it on when he escaped.
Exactly. Good
he
point.
He even says the Tuscans saved me from the Sarlacc pit. But they didn't. They saved him from dying in the desert.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like he doesn't have any real memory of what happened that day.
After he got out of the Sarlacc pit, and then
from between when he fell in and when he is awoken by the Tuscans.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. I wonder if we're going to examine any of that, or we're just going to ignore it all.
I think it's just going to be a passing. I think that
I did too.
Yeah.
Poor writing. Maybe somebody didn't cover their tracks properly and didn't realize, oh, wait, we already established this. We already said it. Let's just keep going. So I don't know if it's that or.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Gerald. Go ahead and finish.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say is he still hasn't recovered his armor yet, and we all know where his armor is.
Yeah.
The Jawas sold it to the sheriff guy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
And then the Mandalorian takes it back and gives it to Boba Fett. Right?
So, do you think we are done with flashbacks? For two reasons, I think we might be. I'm only going to go might.
Yeah.
2 reasons. One is we're caught up to Fennec joining him.
Yeah.
There's really only one other thing that's significant to see, because he's got the ship back now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The only other significant thing that we know he does is he shows up and meets the Mandalorian. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one reason I think we might be done with flashbacks. Number 2 is he got out of the Bacta tank and it said fully healed.
Exactly. And I think that's what got me. Yeah.
I think we might be done with the,
Except,
I'm going to say like 75%.
Yeah, I even raise it higher
I
than
think
that.
we're close, but when he got out of the Bacta tank and the droid told him, the medical droid, congratulations, you're fully healed. And then Fennec says, what about the insides?
The scars on the inside.
Yeah, the scars on the inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we see a fever dream while he's not in the tank, that might make sense.
Yeah, and I thought about that's a good point. But if there's going to be another one, I think the next episode, it'll just be
it's got to be about the armor. I would love if they try to do something where it's Jango Fett. Talking to a young Boba Fett about the armor, kind of going over, all the stuff about it. Something like that, so a flashback like that would be really cool.
Because that's his dad's armor.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
And there could be some more flashbacks. I'm gonna lean 89%. We're done with flashbacks, and then you guys put your percentage in, and we'll kind of see what happens next week. But I don't know. I don't know how much will happen between, because it goes to present day where he takes out what's the guy's Fit? What's Bib? Yes,
Bib Fortuna.
Bib
Fortuna.
Yeah, Tuna.
Yep. Tuna.
So I mean it's so we're back on the present day, and so now my comment is, of course, it starts off where he's like the Godfather, in this table full of the different former captains under Jabba the Hutt. Now, and of course, I mean, basically what he wants to do, he wants to create unity and fight, in his case against the Pikes, because, we're against each other, but the Pikes are our main enemy, and I'll work with you, and we'll all have peace. And of course, I can't but the reality is that I guess they wanted nothing to do with it. They he said, listen, basically he made the statement that, okay, if they approach you, stay neutral. I'll take care of it. It's kind of weird. It's almost like, does he really want to be the crime boss? It's just, to me,
it's not that. That's not his motivation. his motive. He was talking when he was talking to Fennec. When he asked Fennec to join him, what he was talking about was, I'm tired of our people getting killed because of the people hiring us don't think through the job. You know, that a lot of times
they don't care.
Assassination is necessary.
Well, yeah, but what I'm getting at is that we're talking about these guys who own these different areas. I mean, they're not. I mean, when you go to Bib Fortuna and you just shoot them and you sit on the chair, and now you're playing happy with everybody else, that just doesn't mix with me. I mean, you know, you're going to come up to, you know, Fortuna, you shoot him, well, now you're going to sit in the chair, and then now you got all
there's a throwaway line that he says that something about that Fortuna had like shafted him somehow.
Yeah.
But we never see that. We don't know what exactly went on, but for some reason he felt slighted by Bib Fortuna at some point.
Well, he did have a ship, so somehow Bib got the ship, and so
I guess, but he never asked. Going back to Fennec's comment, why don't you just go ask for it back? And he said, I'm afraid I won't like the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that he never has a dealing with Bib Fortuna that we have ever seen.
Well, it's like the mayor tried to assassinate him, but the mayor lived, you know, and they know the mayor tried to assassinate, you know, Fett. So I mean, I think there's some stuff in here where I kind of go, okay, we're seeing a real softer size of Fett, and that's fine. But in that particular scene, he just didn't. It was almost he was placating, and all he really wanted them to do is say, hey, if you're not going to help me, then just kind of sit on the sidelines and don't help the Pikes, and I'll take care of it. And of course, at the end, you know, Fennec is, you know, saying, do you really think they're going to do it? And he says, well, you know, it's almost like, you know, who's going to be the worst? You know, is it going to be the Pikes or is it going to be me? So, you know, which, and they know the Pikes, you know, comes in numbers and they're the biggest threat. And so it kind of in that sense, but like I said, I like how Fett is evolving. I like his character. I'm trying to get out of the mindset of the Fett that I remember from Empire Strikes Back to the Return of the Jedi. So there is growth there, but you know, I mean, it's almost like is there a point where Fett's gonna go, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna lash out my wrath. You know, I don't know.
I think
I hope we see it.
I think we will see it. Here's my prediction that will probably absolutely fail. But here's my prediction. That he will lash out. It will be on the Pikes.
Yeah.
Because he's going to find out that the Pikes hired the biker gang to kill the Tuscans.
Well, and even then, I don't even think it was the riders. I think the Pikes did it themselves. You know, it's funny, they had a conversation between Fennec and Fett, and Fennec told them the story what happened, and she said, those biker gangs, no way they would be able to take on the Tuscans. And so that made me feel like the scapegoat was I think it was Strider's, the speeder gang.
You don't think? See, my expectation is they were highly involved, but were helped by the Pikes to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So your take on it is the biker gang was not involved at all.
No, they weren't completely innocent, but But I don't think they were the ones who took him out. And it's almost like, because, you know, when he came back to camp and he saw the gang signs, the symbols, I think the Pikes did that. I think the Pikes are, you know, the Pikes knew already before Fett went back to camp that those people, you know, that the Tuscans were already slaughtered. I don't know. I may be wrong, but I really do think the Pikes had something to do with. Well, I think they may have had a main deal on that, and I think the scapegoats were just the speeder gang.
We've already had it in a previous. Here come the Russians again on the comments section. Remember when the stormtroopers framed the Tuscans for eliminating the Jawas?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the first trilogy. Okay, so and the Pike that Boba went to go talk to, he was very smug and very like there was something going on, the way he's acting. Okay, so he could very well have been playing both ends against each other to get rid of both the competition, so that maybe they would knock each other out, so that he wouldn't have to pay either one of them.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I do think the Pikes are the puppet masters in all of this, and I think the Pikes, I think they wanted to even the score. What happened to them on the train, where
the train, exactly,
the train, and like I said, I do think I do think the Striders was a scapegoat in my opinion, and I think I'm with Finnick where she said there's no way they would win over the Tuscans, and that would have to tell me that it would be a more advanced group or special ops from the Pikes themselves. But I may be wrong, and we'll find out more about it, because I agree with Ricky. I think that's where the rage will come in when he finds out that the Pikes are the ones who killed his family. Because I mean those last episodes, he was in Slave 1 and he just wiped out the speeder bikes. So
I will say I was a little disappointed that he just flew up behind them.
Yeah,
blew them all away with the ship.
I was hoping it was more,
but I was hoping to see some hand-to-hand combat and beating the crap out of people.
I wanted to see what he did,
like rocket launcher.
I wanted to see what he did on the I want to see what he did on the Mandalorian, when he was taking out stormtroopers trying to protect Grogu from
exactly.
That. I mean, when I saw that, I thought, okay, that's brutal. That's awesome. When he's just cracking he's hitting them so hard that their masks are cracking. Anyway, I enjoyed that too much. Okay, so
I wanted to make something came to mind. We were talking about Bib Fortuna, and Boba Fett feeling slighted. I remember reading in one of the novels. I think I'm remembering this right.
Okay,
when Jabba died, Bib took over. Boba never got paid for Hound.
That makes okay.
And he took his ship.
Oh, now that makes a lot of sense.
That would make a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
That makes a ton of sense, Todd.
Well, okay, it makes sense, except Bib Fortuna would have assumed he was dead.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true too.
Well, eventually he assumed he
scored a Ricky.
Dead there. Yeah. So unless Bib,
there was communication between Boba Fett and Bib Fortuna after he came back up from the pit. In the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and now I will say it. With that, that would make sense, but in this new timeline, there's no way he had communication.
Yeah.
Right.
However, he could have, I suppose, with this idea, never have gotten paid because Bib Fortuna never got him paid beforehand. We're going to take care of you. Just, hold on. Jabba's got to deal with this Jedi guy. Yep. And as soon as we're done with that, then I'll get you paid.
Yeah,
that's greedy, manipulative little dude.
I could see that. I could
see. And I think in the current storyline that would make sense, and then we could say, okay, they definitely did have a beef.
Now I have just kind of moving a little some stuff along here. Even though we're going to talk about the ending, I have a few questions, kind of some some photos I want to go over. But we all know, and this was Todd brought this up earlier, and I'm going to let you talk about it, Todd, because at the very end, we talked about, Fennec as Fett. Do we have enough credits? And I'm gonna let you go from there because you made a good point, and what comes on after that was really subtle.
So the interesting thing is, where they're talking about, we got to prepare for war, and he needs an army. And Fennec asks him, how many credits have we got? And he says, I got plenty. And she says, well, there's muscle to be had if you know where to look. And as the show's going off, you hear the Mandalorian thing. I think they're going to go hire all those Mandalorians that were helping in that Mandalorian.
Are you talking about the sisters?
Group. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and this is kind of what I was going to. I'm kind of thinking too. Having that small score, it was almost like it was just a hint of the Mandalorian at the end when they were watching, after the banquet, the dinner and the other former captains were taking off. You heard that. And so, and with that comment that Fennec said about, you just need to know where to look, does this, is this going to land the hand in the show or later on? But I had a couple of ideas, and I thought this would, let's talk about who they could pull in. Now, I don't know if this would happen. Is it, Darjan, is it going to be Din, the Mandalorian himself? Is it going to be, it could be the Night Owls, the Night Watch.
The Night Owls.
But yeah, it's the Night Owls. I guess that's what they go off of. It could be the Children of the Watch. Or it could be, I don't know if you would think it, Bo-Katan. This would be interesting. I love Bill Maher. Maybe it might be, Mayfield. I mean, this would be really good. Of course, I don't know how it would fall in with he would already have his armor. I love this character.
I think it would be perfect to bring him back in.
I would love this character. I love that character.
He's going to want to protect his people.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it makes sense for him to join in to fend off his planet from the bad guys.
Because I don't see a mainliner coming in. I don't see a mainliner coming in like the Mandalorian, Bo-Katan. And I think it would be great because of what a great throwback to bring Cobb Vanth back. And he's a great actor. I love him in Justified. I wish somehow he would get his own series because he is like, the kind of the Justified version of the Star Wars universe. I just like the character, and I love the character from the first season of Mandalorian. So yeah, this would be a great choice. And so I don't know. Hopefully we'll see that.
So throw out some wild ones. They could always hire the Bad Batch if they're still around.
It could be, or they could, if they want to go back to the Bane, maybe Bosk, or maybe IG-88. Yeah. So, and of course, this is not from the first season of The Mandalorian. We're talking, well. Yeah, he would have to play double though.
Some of the other clones.
It'd be like,
just had a whole episode of
it's like
20 Tamara Morrison's running around playing,
like the Star Wars version of Parent Trap. I mean, it's like, but you know what? Last week's show, he did say he would love to play the other clones like Cody, Commander Cody, and Captain Rex. So I would love to see that. I mean, he is the main clone. I mean, that's it, So
send
in the clones. Yeah.
But at this point, it would have to be flashbacks. I think if you would to play any other clones, because at this point all the other clones would be dead, would they not?
Well, now
because he was the only non-aged clone, the only non-genetically altered clone that they had put out. So if he is like in his late mid-50s, I would say in this show, you know, you're talking those clones were already in their 20s, 30s by the end of Rebels.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, though. Remember, Rebels. Rex was part of the actual Battle of Endor, so he was in the Battle of Endor, which is, I mean,
so at least some are. It's possible for some clones,
and I don't know. I don't want to make this up. I think that because I've heard in the what was it, the Clone Wars, they always kid about Rex being the first model. And I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought, like the first batch that came out, it's like, okay, but we need them mature faster so we can put them out in the battlefield. And then as the new models came out, they aged faster so they could go to the battlefield. That may be all a dream I had or something. Somebody out there may research that. I may be totally wrong.
It makes sense. But, it makes sense. I don't exactly recall that. But
I don't either.
Makes sense
because
I'd heard them say and joke about Rex and some of the older clones, being first models, the first generation clones and stuff like that. And so those you normally found those clones in the leadership positions directly under the Jedi. And so Commander Cody, Captain Rex, those are the guys, the first gen guys. And then everybody else kind of came in, and then you had the Bad Batch and stuff like that off of the genetic enhancements they were doing to produce better, stronger, faster clones. And so it makes sense that but I would assume if he's we're talking 70-year-old clones at this point, 80-year-old clones. So it'd be pretty funny. I think it'd be at least to see one.
The slow motion Vespas. Why not?
Right?
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, we already got the hover rounds.
Basically. I mean, hover walkers. That'd be great. Yeah. And we could have Harrison Ford back, so that would be perfect.
There you go.
No. So I guess there is one other option.
What's that?
My understanding, I mean, not all the Tuscans are dead, just his individual tribe.
Yeah.
Right.
Knowing that a tribe of Tuscans were wiped out by these people, is it possible for him to recruit more Tuscans?
It could.
Other tribes.
Yeah, it could be, but you're talking to nomadic people and very nomadic people. And so from everything that I've seen and known about Tuscans is, you have all these different tribes and they just stay away from each other. You don't really see any commingling. Like, I just don't see him doing a whole Game of Thrones like the Dothraki. You have all these Dothraki tribes that are all throughout the Game of Thrones, and they all come together in a convergence. I don't see the Tuscans doing that. Like I don't see them. I think it's isolated.
I totally see them bringing the Ewoks in from Endor to take on the fight. I totally see it. I mean, they won't do really well on sand, but the sarlacc will have plenty to eat.
A wampa, they might bring in a wampa.
Yeah, so, or, maybe the Jawas, they get them hyped up on some type of cyber juice or something. So, I don't know. But, no. So, anyway, anybody has, David Little said, wasn't there a Tuscan scene in The Mandalorian?
Yes.
Yeah, there was.
Where it showed Din, or however you pronounce his name, the Mandalorian, it showed him communicating, actually talking, being able to talk.
Yeah. So who knows? I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know. Let's take a guess, and just for fun. So I'm going to say a bet or whatever. Which character either you would like to see or you think they may bring in to help fight? Just maybe out of it. It doesn't even have to be from the list.
The sheriff is going to show up. I think the sheriff is going to show up.
I think so. I think he'll show up, and actually, he would be my pick of wanting to show up.
Yeah, I would pick him. He would show up, and then I don't know. You maybe have a few bounty hunters come in from like some of the so some of the ones we kind of saw in Empire. If they're still around, I would love to see.
I know. Yeah.
Cad Bane come in, like he would be.
Yeah.
Like this would be the perfect opportunity for it, to bring in, especially the last two, Cad Bane and IG. You bring those two into the mix, and it's like, hey, like she said, you just have to know where to look. Build an army. Like you've already got, a bad Wookiee on your team, and then plus the two Gungans, and now you got bringing a couple other bounty hunters.
And the bounty guild from the Mandalorian, and I think they kind of broke up because the head guy, he no longer had the guild, or they broke up. Maybe they need work. Maybe they become mercenaries instead of bounty hunters. So who knows? There's so many options out there. Yeah. We maybe get some new characters not new characters, but characters from the past, like Empire. But I would love to see Cobb come back, Cobb Vanth.
Yeah.
Agree.
Maybe some Mayfield too. That'd be kind of funny, having a Star Wars New Yorker talk.
In the desert of Tatooine, just
hey, with all this, what's the deal with all this sand? What's the deal with all this sand? With these little short people? Oh, you can't say short people no more.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
there's plenty of beach, but no water.
No water. What is this? This ain't Jersey.
You can definitely see him trying to talk him out of. It's like, really, you want to rule this place? Like, you see this place? Like, this is what you want? Like, come on! Like, we can do so much better. Like,
this is not beachfront property. Where's the water? So exactly. So anyway, so it'll be interesting. I look forward to seeing the next episode to see whether or not they do a flashback or they don't do a flashback. Be interesting. Either way, I think it'd be great. We have how many? I mean, this is the fourth one, so three more. So I think we'll see maybe a longer length of present time than we will actually the past. At least that's my thought. I would
expect the last two episodes to just be roll one right into the other as far as story goes.
Be a part one, part two.
Before we close it up, any fun predictions on this? Just grab from this, just grab anything out of the hat.
They said something big was coming for episode 7, so I'm really hoping to see a rampaging Rancor through the streets of Tatooine.
That's right.
That would be.
Boba Fett riding a Rancor.
A Rancor through the streets of.
The Rancor,
that would be awesome.
Rancor did not like the guest making fun of his daddy.
When
he,
brilliant.
I would love that. Yeah. But I forgot about that. I want to see that because he said I want to learn how to ride it, and I want to see. Oh man, I forget the trainer. I forget the actor's name.
Danny Trio.
Danny Trio. So. Yeah,
and he was so excited to get the role. Like the interviews and stuff that I've seen that he's given since then, like he was so excited and having to kind of keep everything hush hush and stuff. Like when he was finally able to come out and say, "I'm in Star Wars," he was like, "Hey, I'm in Star Wars." I was like, "Heck yeah, that's awesome."
So, that's awesome.
So if Danny Trejo's in this, if we're gonna really go out on a limb, he hires the Sons of Anarchy.
Well, I mean, they'll have more rugged bikes. I mean, they'll have more rugged bikes.
That's the Banthas.
I mean, put them against the moped gang, and there you go. Yeah. I don't have anything else. I think we milked this Banta as much as we could.
Hey, gotta get that blue milk.
Hey, nothing like that Banta milk. Yum, yum. And where's the udders at? Oh, that's not the udders. But anyhow, on that note, I want to thank everybody for joining the show. We will meet again next Friday. and talk about episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett. Remember, we are on 8 o'clock live Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll try to bring all the guys back again, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Book of Boba Fett. Any last shout outs or anything that you wanted to leave our fine audience?
Check us out
at Crickets.
Yeah, check it. Yeah, check us out at speakingnerdy.com. You can find all of our social links there.
That's right. We're very social. All right. We try.
Let's join the fan page.
We're ready.
This has been the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. I know I had to leave in the middle of the show. It is actually hereditary. I didn't realize that.
It really does run in the genes.
It does run in the genes and in the socks, too.